just get started there now. So welcome to BIM360 Docs. In today's webinar, we'll be going through just the user interface and how the users might approach it and what they might use. And the first thing that we're going to be looking at here is the interface of BIM360 Docs. So as you can see, I'm at the sign-in page. BIM360 is a web-based platform. And you have two different types. So you have BIM360 EU and you have BIM360 US. Now the difference between the two is that BIM360 US gets the latest updates of BIM360 Docs. So any new updates that Autodesk roll out, BIM360 US will get it first. And if it's a success, then it'll roll on out to BIM360 EU. The second thing is that the servers which the files are stored on is located in the US for the US docs, and for the EU then it's located in the servers above just outside Dublin. So that's the two differences between the two. To differentiate between the two, between EU and US, there's only one small thing. Okay, so above here you can see in the link it's docs.bim360.eu.autodesk. So hence we're in the EU sign-in page here, and the one beside me here, you can just see that it is docs.bim360.autodesk, and that indicates that it is the US server or the US docs. So the one that we're going to be using today is the EU server. So to sign in, normally to sign in, you will be using your Autodesk sign-in credentials. Okay, and similarly enough, you also need to make sure if you want to sign in, you need to be invited to a project as well by one of the project admins. So when a user signs in, the first thing that they'll be looking at is the BIM360 Docs interface. And inside here, you can see that in the top left-hand corner, it's ProCAD_EU, which is the name of our hub. And then you can see training project. Training project indicates the name of the project. And if I click on the drop down, you can see the different types of projects that I'm on also. Beside that then, you have what is called the cube. And the cube allows you to go into different modules within BIM360. As hence you know, there's BIM360 Docs, BIM360 Design, Glue, Field, Coordinate. There's hence a lot of more modules as well with it. But in this cube, you can see you have access to Project Home and Insight, and this will be specifically for the users. And then if you have more credentials, so if you have Project Admin status or Account Admin status, you can see that you will be able to see those two options in the cube also. To look first, what we're going to be looking at is the difference between plans and project files, as is one of the most asked questions on BIM360 Docs. The first thing that we're going to be looking at here is plans, and you know that I am within plans is because it's highlighted as blue here. And the first thing with plans is that the main features of plans is that it is a title block extractor, it has hyperlinking, and you can see from the folder space here is that when you upload a 3D model like a Revit model, that it not only uploads the 3D model, but it also extracts all the sheets from that model into the same folder. Now this can be both an advantage and a disadvantage depending on the workflow that the user wants. A lot of the time we would recommend to use project files. And the reason for this is that project files is the opposite to plans. Okay? The first thing with project files is that when you upload a 3D model, just to show you an example here, you can see that when you upload the model, it just uploads the 3D model, and then within that model, you have access to the 2D sheets. So it doesn't upload the 2D sheets into the same folder, it keeps it within the model. Now this is can either be advantage or disadvantage depending on the person. But just to explain about plans further, hyperlinking. So when you upload your model, into the folder, it not only extracts all the title block extractor, so it extracts out all this information in the bottom left and bottom right hand corner here, but you also have the ability to hyperlink. So to hyperlink from one sheet into another, or from one sheet into a model space. And you can see I have a couple of hyperlinks already set up here. So you can see if I hover over the area where the blue is, you can see the example of the hyperlink, and this is hyperlinking it to the 3D view. So if I select that view, it automatically brings me into that model space. Okay. So the second thing then is the title block extractor, and any information on the title block will be extracted out onto this area here. What is located above here is your attributes. I will show you how to create new attributes and modify existing ones. And we're going to be looking now at project files. So like I said, the main difference between plans and project files is that plans has the ability to title block extract, to hyperlink, and again, it uploads the 3D model and dumps the 2D sheets into that same folder. Whereas with project files, the first thing you have with project files is that you have access to the desktop connector. So the desktop connector allows you to access from your own desktop onto the cloud platform. So you can see inside here, if I go to this PC, you can see I now have a function for BIM360. And if I double click in there, double click into ProCAD EU, you can see all the different projects that are set up through the project files area. If I go further into that, you can see you have the training project, it speaks about project files, and then you can see all the same folders that I can see on the left hand side here. So if I ever want to upload files or models, I could also do it through the desktop connector. The second thing is that I just spoke about is that when you upload a 3D model, that it just uploads the 3D model into the folder, and then within that model then you have access to your 2D sheets that are within the model in Revit. So to speak further about project files, you can add subfolders by right-clicking on project files, and you can see add subfolder. Now with project files, it works like a tiered system. Okay, so what I mean by that is that if you were added with permissions to see the project files, then that means that you have access to see any folder underneath the project files, which is basically every folder. Now if I was to give a user permissions to just folder E, then that means that when they sign in to look at this project, they can actually only see the contents of within folder E. So the tiered system, if a user was added, just to make sure, if a user was added to project files, they will see every folder underneath project files. And similarly enough, if they were added to any subfolder, they can only see what is inside in that subfolder. So when I right click on project files or any folder on the left hand side here, you will have these options. So you can see the option to add a subfolder within project files. You can rename the project files. This is another area where you have the option to upload. So there's 3 different options of uploading models to BIM360 Docs. The first way you could do it is through the desktop connector and simply dragging and dropping your files that you want to upload into the model space here. And the second thing then is, like I was speaking about here, is using the upload button. So you can see that you have 2 options. You have files and you have linked files. The difference between these two is that files just uploads only one file. Okay, so like a Revit model or a CAD file, whereas linked files, if that Revit model or that CAD file had XREFs or linked models within it, then you will need to choose the linked files option, as this option gives you the entitlement to upload not only the parent file, which is the main model, but also the linked files with it. Below that then you have share. So you can share a folder that you have selected or this folder, which is basically the project files, you can share that to another member within that project. Okay, just to make sure that the person still needs to have access to this project, and if you are required to share it. Adding attributes. Like I said, attributes are these basically tabs going across here. And if you want to add another attribute onto this list here, you can simply right click, go add attribute, select the name, which I'm just going to give an example here as severity. Then you can choose what type of attribute you want to add, whether it is a text field, a date picker, or a drop-down menu. So if it's a drop-down menu, you can choose by severity, which is low, then medium, and high. So you can save that, and you should be able to see the attribute then added above here. So to go down further, you have permissions, and like I said, anyone who is added via permissions, this is more project admin, so you can see that myself, Maria, and Sean are the only 3 users inside here who have access to the full contents of the project files. If I wanted to add someone else, you simply go add, type in their email, and give them their permission level. Now you can see there's different types of permission levels. You have view, view and download, upload only, view, download and upload, and view, download, upload and edit, and then full control. You can see also it gives a description for each, but depending on your permission level, it also depends on what you can actually do within that folder. Next up, we have the PDF viewer. Now there's 2 different ways of looking at PDFs inside BIM360. You have the PDF browser, and then you have the BIM360 option. Okay, so the browser basically allows you to look at it in terms of a PDF like you normally would. It doesn't give you any of the functions of BIM360 Docs. So like it describes here, markups, issues, RFIs, or hyperlinks are not available in this browser view. If you want to change that, like we said, you just simply right click, go to PDF viewer, and you can select BIM viewer, and this gives the user entitlement to create those markups, those issues, RFIs, or hyperlinks. So if I go save, what that now does is that it allows me to go into a PDF. So if I select one here, and it allows me then, you can see that it gives me the access to create issues, to create markups and RFIs, which I will speak about in a couple of minutes. So to go further on, if you are a user inside BIM360 Docs, and if you don't have the entitlement of the whole project files option, let's say if you only have the permissions to view 1 or 2 folders, then it is probably recommended to subscribe to that folder. And subscribing to that folder means that any changes, anything that's added or removed, you will get notifications of. Okay, so that is what subscribe is. Again, this is the main interface here where the models are stored. You can see that you have folders, you have different types of files, so docs, you could have PDFs, Revit files, CAD files, Navisworks models, and if you select any one of those, you can see that you have different ways of editing each one. So each one has different edit permissions. So with folders, you can see that you can move a folder, you can share it, delete it, download it, submit for review, or create a transmittal. Whereas you can see if I select the PDF, you can see that I have a lot more editable functions. So I can open in a browser, export, move, copy, lock. Lock means that you basically put a lock on that PDF and it cannot be edited. If you want to unlock it, again, you can just simply select it, click on lock, and you can see that that PDF has now become editable. So deleting a file, just to take note, when you delete a file is never fully deleted. So although it is deleted and gone off of its view, you actually have the ability to restore that deleted item. Above here in the top right hand corner, you have deleted items. If if you select that, you can see that I have this deleted item inside here. I can select it and I can restore it. Okay, so you can see that you have different items. You can see then that it is loaded back into that folder. You have different items within here in this folder structure. Now further from that you have reviews, transmittals and issues, and I will speak about them once I actually create a few. And that's what I'm going to do now. So the first thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to folder C, which is my models folder. And I'm going to speak about this sample architectural model. So I'll go into it in a couple of minutes. But the first thing I want to speak about is if you look at the version. So the big advantage with BIM360 Docs is that it has automatic version control. So if you were to open this model, this sample architectural model from the cloud, work on that model and make changes, you can see that when you save that model back up, it will automatically create a new version. So you don't have to worry about calling it Rev 1, Rev 2, and so on. It automatically creates that version. And you can see that if I select on version 19, you can see the different versions I can go back to, I can view, I can download if I needed to. So it gives you full traceability on the models themselves as well. Also, just to speak about this interface here, is that any markups that are created within that model, any issues, RFIs, it'll actually tell you if there are items created like markups, issues, or if it has originally been submitted for a review. Okay, so this is this interface here. So anything that's added, you can see that equipment legend has no markups, no issues, no RFIs, but it has been submitted for review and it has been approved. I'll speak about that in a minute or two. But the first thing they're going to do is they're going to go into sample architectural model. I'm going to show you the main features and the most powerful tools that BIM360 Docs has. The first one is called the comparison tool. So in the bottom of your screen here, you can see you have a toolbar. So in that toolbar, you have different options to rotate, to pan. Okay, you have a zoom window, which you can just draw a window over an area and it'll zoom into it. Then you have fit to view, which will bring the model back out. You have first person view. Now first person view is very good when you're creating issues within a model. And what this allows you to do is walk through the model. So if you double click into an area that you want to look at, and then you can use the WASD buttons to walk through that model and navigate around. And then you can use the Q and E to change your heights if you wanted to change different floor levels. So if you wanted to create an issue within here, you could go to Issues, select the Create Issue option, and select where the issue is. But the first thing I'm going to speak about, like I said, bring it back out to fit the view. And we're going to speak about the Compare tool. So with the Compare tool, it basically speaks for itself. What it does, it can compare one version to another version. So if I go back, you can see that I can select and go to the very first version if I wanted to. And I can select any version inside here, but make sure that you are comparing the right views between each other. So you can see that I have 3D view selected on the left hand side, 3D view selected on the right hand side, and it's going comparing version 19 and version 3. So once I select compare, in the bottom left hand corner here you can see the workbar loading, and once that is done, it then gives you this table above here. So you can see that 45 items are added, 3 removed, and 42 are modified. So you can itemize every instance if you wanted to. You can unselect the added and removed to just show you what has been modified. And further from that, you can filter out using your disciplines. So you can hide structural items, electrical, and you can just leave architecture, which is basically everything that's there anyway. I think as well, one of the biggest functions with BIM360 Docs is that you can actually select an item. It shows you where it is on version 3. And if you want to see where it is on the latest version, you can select that version 19. And you can see that the item changes. So it's telling you that it's moved by 3.6 feet, where it is from version 3 to version 19. So if I show what's added and removed, you can see that then you can filter out from different versions. So you can see that on the modify, again, version 3, version 19, it automatically shows you how that has changed. So that is the model compare. Similarly enough, if you want to export out an Excel sheet to show the changes between them, you have this little download button here, and it'll download an Excel spreadsheet to show those changes and that comparison between version 19 and version 3. So to get further out from that, you can go close viewer, remove from the model, and if you go back into it, you're back into that main model and looking at it, and on the top right hand side here, you'll see that you have another table. And this table allows you to create markups. So if you see something that is maybe you'd like to change, so if you create a markup and say, change the color, so add in some text, like say, change color of this roof. Okay, so that is it now added with the markup. And if I go save markup above here, just leave that load, you can see that that has now saved. So exit markup view, but that markup has now been stored in this area in here in the top left hand corner. So you'll see you have markups, issues, RFIs, sheets and views, the history of the model, the different phases if there are any, and then the levels. Okay, but with the markups, when you create a markup, you can see that you have published and you have private. Now the difference between the two is that in the private, only the user that has created the markup can see it. But whereas if it is published, then that means that everyone who has access to this model can now see that markup that you have created. So the thing about this is to note is that if you have changed a markup from private to published, you cannot go back. So once it is published, then you cannot change it back to private. Okay, so that is something to take note of. So that is how you create markups, is in this top right hand corner here. You have the ability to create those markups. And then you have issues. So you can see that I have a couple of issues created already, and the issues are symbolized by these circles here. So the reason why they are a different color is that the ones that are the orange or kind of yellow means that they are still open and they haven't been answered by the person you have assigned the issue to, and the ones that are blue then means that they have been answered. So to create an issue, I'm going to create an issue first of all by using this walkthrough function. I'm going to create an issue within this model here. So I'm going to create an issue with this window. So the first thing is that you go into issues above here and select create issue. And you can see that the very first step in this is to select the location place for that push pin. So I'm selecting the area where the issue is. The first thing I'm doing is giving it its type, which is going to be design, but where you can see that you have different functions in here to give it. The status is going to be open, and the title of this is just going to be window size. I can assign it to anyone who has access to this model. Choose a due date, which I need an answer by. The location, whether it's ground floor or first floor. Location details, if I want to specify further where that window is. And the root cause, I can give it design deficiency. So window is so when I go create, you can see now on this list, it is giving that issues. Okay, and I'll speak about where that list is also and where you can report from that list. So to go further inside here, in the model you can see your sheets and views, and you can switch between 2D views and the 3D model. Okay, further from that you have your levels. So if I fit to view here, I can filter out between levels as well. So you have level 1, level 2, foundation view. So you can see that it also filters and gives basically what is called a section box just to show that specific level. So you have phases. If you had phases in terms of new construction, demolition, you can see different phases inside here, and then the history then shows you the different versions. Okay, so they are the biggest things. Now, what I've shown you here is to do with a 3D model. Okay, so this view is also in turn for CAD files, for PDFs. Okay, so issues, markups, RFIs can all be created for those different file types. And when you create issues, like I said, not only does the issues show within that model, but you also have an issues tab here where you can filter and report on. So you can see all the different open and answered ones and where they are assigned to. If you want to filter, you can filter by any of the statuses within here. So you can see you have open. I can filter by answered. So you can see that this is the filtering type here. And if I wanted to, I could actually create a PDF report or export out a CSV file or export a BIM360 file. So if I go PDF report, I can create a new issue report for today's date and go create report. So what this does is that inside in Insight, which is something that a user will have access to as well, you can see you have the option to create and view reports. So you can see my report is now downloading here, but you can also see reports that I've created or Sean has created before. And you have the option then to download that report. So if I click download, you can see that it downloads a PDF. And if I open that PDF, you can see that it creates a full PDF of each issue that was exported out in that report. And all these issues have hyperlinks, and it also attaches photos if they are applied as well. You can see that it also gives you a link back to the model where that was, and if you select it, it downloads that model for you. Okay, so a couple of more things to note is that last two folders inside here, you have reviews and you have transmittals. So if you submit something for a review, so I'm going to again go inside here and I'm going to submit files that haven't been submitted already. So I'm just going to submit this file here and submit for review. Again, depending on what permissions the user has available to them, they can either edit a review or submit files for review. So you can see that there are different review workflows already created. So again, selecting one, you can see that you have your file selected inside here. And if you realize that you want to add more files into the review, you can go add documents. If you go submit, again, you can go notify members if you wanted to. Again, notify members, and that will submit it then into the review options above here. So you can see that when you see a review created, you can select into it, you can start the review, and you can go through the review process. So you could go inside here and review that model, and if you are happy enough with that model, you can go assign a review process and go approved internally only, or you can go rejected or approved for external. And then you can go submit for review. And then what that will do is that it creates the review process and it creates and closes that review then. So you can see that that review is now closed. So transmittals then, it basically, what a transmittal is that it allows you to select a number of files and create a transmittal to send to someone else. So basically like downloading a zip file. So if I go into PDFs folder here, I can select what PDFs I want to put into that transmittal. So I can just say review these file, so this is going to be the name of the title. Recipients, then I can choose, say myself for this case, save, can see all recipients, go create, and what that does is that it sends me an email then that I have been assigned a transmittal. So then I can go view transmittal and it'll bring me into this area here where I can download those files onto my own PC. So these are the main features that a user will have available to them. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And if you think of any questions later on, please feel free to email Elaine, and she'll put me in contact with yourselves, and maybe we can set up a specific demo if you want to look at something more specifically, or if you want to go through workflows. So thank you for your time. If you want me to go through or back through anything else, please feel free to ask. Just with that question there, can you open closed reviews? No. So unfortunately, once a review is submitted or where it has been assigned basically their role. So if I speak about that there. So once you see a review has been status inside here, okay, that cannot be changed. But what you can do, okay, is you can actually submit that for review again, and maybe then the status of that will change then. So if originally the review process for this file here was rejected, you can send that off for review again, and it can then be changed to approved. Okay, so that is one way that you can change the status of a review, but you can't change the status of a review that has been done before, if that makes sense. So any other questions, just feel free to ask. So again, thank you for your time. This webinar is also recorded, so anything that you want to go through as well, we will be sending out the recordings to you. Thanks everyone.